My father pointed at my 9-year-old daughter in front of the entire family and told her to leave the table. Not quietly, not apologetically, calmly, the way people speak when they believe they have every right to say what they're saying. Lily had just pulled out her chair. She was wearing the red dress she'd picked out herself, the one with the little white buttons she practiced fastening all morning. She was so proud of that dress. And my father looked at her, really looked at her, and said, "That seat is not for you." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. 15 people at that table, and not one of them made a sound. And here's what I need you to understand before I tell you what happened next. I had driven 4 hours to be at that dinner. I had spent 20 years quietly making myself smaller in that house, telling myself it was fine, telling myself he was just hard to reach, telling Lily that Grandpa was just a quiet man who showed love differently. I believed that story. I needed to believe it. But standing there, watching my daughter's face, I realized I had been protecting the wrong person this entire time. And I was done. Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Christmas in that house always had rules. Unspoken ones, but everyone knew them. Derek's kids sat closest to Gerald. They got the first plates, the loudest laughs, the stories at the head of the table. Lily and I sat toward the end, close enough to be counted as present, far enough to feel the distance. I told myself it was because of the divorce. Because I'd moved away. Because I'd made choices Gerald didn't approve of. I built an entire explanation out of nothing just so I wouldn't have to feel what I actually felt. But tonight was different. I could feel it the moment we walked in. Gerald greeted Derek's boys with both hands on their shoulders. He looked at Lily and gave her a nod, the kind you give a stranger holding a door. Lily smiled at him, anyway. That's who she is. She walked straight to the table, found the last empty chair, the one right beside him, and reached for it. That's when his hand went up. What broke me wasn't the words. It was that nobody looked surprised. Not Derek. Not the cousins. Not even my mother. They all already knew something. Something I didn't. I said it before I even decided to say it. Tell her the truth. For words. Quiet. No trembling, no shouting. Just 4 words that landed on that table like something heavy dropped from a great height. I sent Lily to the living room first. She went without arguing. She could feel it too, that shift in the air that tells you something is happening that children shouldn't have to witness. The moment she was gone, I turned back to my father. Gerald tried to reframe it. A seating arrangement. A family tradition. He waved his hand like the whole thing was already over. But I didn't sit down. Because 3 months earlier, while clearing out my late grandmother's house, I had found letters. Old ones. Letters that suggested Gerald was not my biological father. I had buried that. Folded it back into the box and told myself it didn't change anything. But watching Lily get turned away from a chair at her grandfather's table, I stopped protecting everyone else's comfort. Derek stood up and told me to stop. Gerald's jaw locked tight. And then my mother set down her napkin, looked up, and said, "Let her speak. You have to understand what that moment meant." Carol had never, not once in 40 years, contradicted Gerald in front of the family. She was the woman who changed the subject at dinner, who refilled glasses when voices got too loud, who smoothed everything over before it could become anything real. So when she said those 3 words, everyone at that table understood. This wasn't a small thing. This was the end of something. Carol spoke slowly, like she had rehearsed it, or maybe like she had been holding it so long it had worn grooves into her. She confirmed what the letters suggested. Gerald had known before Maya was born that she wasn't his biological daughter. He married Carol anyway. He raised Maya, fed her, housed her, showed up, but he never once let himself love her the way he loved Derek. And he never forgave either of them for it. The rejection of Lily wasn't about Lily. It was never about Lily. Derek sat back down, pale. The cousins had quietly disappeared. Gerald said nothing, and for the first time in my life, his silence didn't feel like power. It felt like collapse. I took Lily's hand, and as I passed his chair, he looked away first. Here is what was true the whole time. Gerald knew before the wedding. He chose to stay, But he turned his resentment into a 38-year sentence, and Maya served every day of it without knowing what she'd been convicted of. Lily was simply the final target, the last place he could aim something he never had the courage to say out loud. In the car that night, Lily asked if Grandpa was okay. Maya told her, "He will be. But we don't have to wait around for that." And then, for the first time in longer than she could remember, Maya cried, not from shame, not from loss, but from the specific relief of finally knowing. The story she had told herself her entire life, that she was never quite enough, was never true.
It was his story.
She had just been carrying it. Carol called the next morning. They talked for 2 hours. Derek sent a message that took him 3 paragraphs to say sorry. Gerald did not reach out. Maya did not wait. 3 weeks later, she and Lily had their own Christmas. New traditions. Better ones. Lily hung the first ornament. Maya watched her daughter and thought, some tables aren't worth sitting at.